All right, what's up? Welcome back, everyone. Happy Monday, episode 132. Jen is a little shamrock guy for people listening.
Hello.
What is that called? It's a decoration, but what is that?
It's like a gnome,
Oh, I
I
know.
think.
I know that, but yeah,
He's a St.
just
Patrick's
a
Day
little
guy.
decoration guy. A little
Yeah. Anyway,
gnome
that's
boy.
my highlight of the day. Hope it got you a chuckle if you watch us.
Yeah, we don't post these as full videos, so
Well, you're going to have to include that clip because that guy's adorable.
yeah. Plus, it's riveting content, like everybody. That will help a ton of people. A fucking
Breaking news.
a leprechaun. So we're talking about fundamentals is where we want to start.
We are.
Or basics or however you want to look at it. And we have these little chats before we sit down and record because it just kind of gets your like brain going and we have a little dialogue and it sort of warms you up and you're talking and whatever. And we're not professional podcasters. We do this for fun. But what was I going to say? Because it got me so ready. Oh, I was just going to say that the topics, we sort of start talking about the topics and we got on naturally somehow. I mentioned fundamentals. You started talking about courses and things. But I was thinking even more basic. Like I was thinking people are coming out of school and the people that we've hired out of school directly are telling us that they have major like holes in their hair game. Now,
Correct. Some they know of, some they're not even aware of.
yeah, which is fine. You're gonna have
Mhm.
that. You're not coming out of school knowing everything. And this isn't a
Right.
knock on schools, but what we have to do as leaders is identify those things for people if they aren't able to, and then lay out a plan of action so that they can make progress as quickly as possible. It takes
Correct.
time and skill, but if you don't have a starting point, then it's going to take even longer, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So
Or those bad habits just continue so far that it's
I
harder
don't
to
even
break
know if
them.
these people have bad habits. They don't know how to do certain things, period. There's not a bad habit that I was approached by someone recently and she was like, I don't even know if I know how to hold clippers.
Right. I do
She's
think
never held clippers. Like no
that's
one
not
ever
good.
corrected her. And I see people too. I brought this up before is like going around and I'm like, why is that person holding a comb like that? Like, what do
Right.
you don't have
Or we talked about how you hold your
control or
scissors.
right. Certain. Yeah.
But those are what I'm talking about. Like when it comes to holding scissors and combs, like we can correct that quickly. And I think the sooner you correct that, then they're on to a better road for success technically. And if they're holding those things wrong for a longer period of time, then it's like they have to relearn how to hold them. And it does make them have to relearn how to cut and move in certain things because they've been used to the bad way of doing it. That's what I meant by that. So
Yeah.
we try to right away correct those.
Yeah, for sure. And we always try to have some intent with this podcast. So, like I say, we do it for fun, but we do sit down and we think about, like, what will somebody listening get out of this?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think one of the things that we're trying to get people back is their time because
Mhm.
you see people on social media. And again, I'm not knocking it, but you see people on social media doing all these hacks and advanced techniques and all this stuff when the truth is most people need foundational work. The stronger your foundation, like if you think about it as simply as a house, like if you have a house that has no foundation, it's going to fall over.
Right.
The stronger your foundation, the higher you can build, the stronger everything
With
is above.
everything you do in life.
So you recently were teaching a class and you said there was a huge range and everyone got something out of it. Why don't you talk about that?
Mhm. So I was teaching a blonding class, which was highlighting and a freehand technique that I decided that would be great for this group of people. What I didn't realize was the age range I would be walking into. So I knew it was a fairly big group. When I got in, I always check in with the owner, like sort of, what do I have? Who's coming in and sort of where's their level at? And this group just happened to be people right out of school up to a woman named Susan who was 73 years old and has been doing hair for whatever that timeline looks like. That's her whole career. So that kind of, I was like, oof, how do I relate to a group that is brand new and super seasoned? And for a moment, I thought like, oh, this is going to be really difficult. But really, they're there to learn. And the course I was teaching was this fundamental of highlighting and a fundamental of freehand and really just bringing it back to breaking it down so it's super simple so anybody could do it. And it was amazing I guess, feedback of how much they learned from a traditional foil that like got them mindfully thinking about how to approach it, what they're doing or why they're doing it, which my seasoned people in the class were like, wow, I know I do that, but I forgot the why. So, I could talk to them about the why and break down making it more simple. We're in a world of you don't need to put 5 million foils in a head. So here's where you can do it less work, less time, more efficient, and achieve the same results, right? And then on the same side, I could talk about the freehand and how to hold it. And for my seasoned people, they're like, I'm afraid of freehand
Can
because
you
I
finish
am not.
your? I'm going to pick on you a little bit. Can you finish
Yeah.
sentences? You're talking fast, but you're like, so my seasoned people were how to hold it. I'm like, what? Hold what? What are you talking about? Give us a little.
Oh,
Give us a little context. Give us a little like production
sorry. I'm like,
value here.
oh. So I guess for the
What
people
are you
that have
talking
been
about?
doing hair
Hold what?
along,
Hold foils? Hold a comb? Hold
hold the
the brush? Hold the
hair,
bowl?
hold the hair,
Hold the head?
probably more in a freehand technique.
All right.
For the people coming out of
For us
school,
barbers out there, we're trying to picture this.
for people coming out of school, it was just more like, I don't even know where to start or what developer to use when I'm starting this head of anything with highlighting.
So
So I was able to.
let me ask you a
Oh, God.
question. Are
Yep.
they? Is that something that is not taught in school, or did they just not
I
absorb it,
think they just
or a
teach to
combination?
just grab one developer for everything rather than think about how fast you work, how quick you want, which product are you using, how quick does it lift, are you doing a full head versus a half head, and how to make that work for you.
That they teach one developer. I learned.
I think pretty
I even
I
learned more
pretty much
than that.
think so. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And not realizing how you can change your developer so that you can still work slow and not have the hair lift too fast for you. So in this group, where at first I was like, well, if I'm going to teach fundamental foiling and fundamental freehand, I feel like people are going to be bored because I think a lot of times when you think of basic or creating something simple, you're like, I already know how to do that. And when you have social media influencers out there that are trying to show you all kinds of things that look like glitter and sparkle, and you're just like, I want to learn all that stuff, when a lot of times there's a much easier, more simpler, fundamental way to do it. So these courses I've been teaching, since they're just fundamental, it's amazing to see the people like more aha moments than when I taught more creative color last year. And it's blowing my mind because I'm like, this is so simple, but they're looking for that. And unfortunately, what they're seeing on social media or a lot of like the demos that are coming through are just throwing out too many steps. So it was cool for the few that I've taught to bring it back to the basic fundamental for foiling and for freehand, and then have them be like, wow, I could actually do this behind the chair. Like I can take this back to my salon. And that's what I like to do as an educator. But I think a lot of times people get caught up in the glitter and the glitzy things, but then they really can't apply it, right? So they're learning this stuff, but there's nothing they can do with it in real life because it doesn't actually make sense to either their brain, or they start to do it and they're like, why am I doing this like this? It's not working out for me.
You know, oftentimes I see these, like, I guess we'll just say influencers, because we had the same thing in the gym world. And so there would be very simple. I'll give you an example that's super simple, and you'll probably remember the people I'm talking about. But there was a specific diet that we sort of played around with and promoted for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we promoted it was because it was not fancy. It was just eat
Mm-hmm.
like a normal human being, right? And
Right.
don't eat like a crazy person. And then a famous CrossFit influencer came around and claimed that they had cracked the code, and she had put out all this stuff in a book. And just what she did was she took something that was super simple and she complicated the hell out of it
Mm-hmm.
and made it so that you had to pay her so that she could decode it for you.
Right.
And I feel like every industry has that. And you get sucked in because you see these influencers and they're like, for $5 a month, you can join my private Instagram and you'll learn how
Mm-hmm.
to blonde, or you'll learn how to do this or whatever. And it's like, you don't really need that stuff. You need the basics, and you need more of the basics. And then after that, you should go back, take a quick rest, and then go back and work on the basics again.
Yeah. The simpler you can make things, the more consistent you'll be,
Yeah.
the faster you'll grow.
The
It doesn't
faster
all
you
have
get
to.
too, that I think people
Yeah.
try to work on speed in a way that they're not. And again, I from working in the gym industry, it, if you work on the basic stuff, you will get faster because it's
Yes.
easier for you. If
Yes.
you are somebody that doesn't pay attention to how they're even holding a comb, you're gonna fumble with the hair more, and it's gonna take you longer
Right.
to get the
Right.
same thing. So if you learned how to use a comb, right there, like you're
Hmm.
setting yourself up speed wise. The service is
Yes.
going to be faster because you're not fumbling around. I remember being with a group of new people, and one of them was looking at scissors, and I was like, "You don't hold those like that. You hold them like this." And they were like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're licensed."
When I teach in the salon, especially when I have a new apprentice, because we are their school, right? It starts from so basic fundamental that, let's say when we're foiling, your foil comb will stay the same for a long time. Your foils you choose will stay the same for a long time. Your pattern will stay the same for a long time. Because if you keep changing all these things because you see this stuff on social media, you're like, oh, if I have that comb, I'm going to be better. Nope, you're still going to suck. That comb will not make you better. What will make you better is sticking with the foundation, these things, and getting better because you've done it over and over and over again. And I know that's boring, but once you've mastered that and you've got a good set, a time, everything looks great. Now we can work on like, oh, maybe you want to try a different comb or a different foil pattern, or we want to change something. But until you can master it or get really good at it with these basic set of tools and a basic skill set of like a pattern, like there's no need to try to learn a bunch of different things because you're just going to fall flat and you're going to feel defeated. Same thing with cutting. Like pick your comb. What size comb do you like and what weight of a comb? Once that's your comb, where are your clips? Those are your clips. This is what you're going to use now for a while. Then we can talk about switching it up. But if you don't kind of have that basic, even tool set laid out, you're not even thinking about that, like then you're just all over the place.
Yeah, I agree, and I want to point something out. So when you've had apprentices forever, and
Hmm.
an interesting phenomena that I've noticed, and you've noticed because you've pointed it out too, which is this just proves that we're right when we talk about fundamentals and stuff, is that people coming out of school are frustrated because they're
Right.
coming out of school, they're licensed, and then you have this person that has a stronger technique by like a lot, by a good
Right.
amount.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have instances where I remember it happened with Ava. I don't know if it's happened yet so much with Emma, but where you have an apprentice that's teaching a licensed
Right.
cosmetologist out of school,
Right.
because
And it's
they know how to do it because they've just put in the repetitions. That's all it is.
And the licensed cosmetologist is frustrated, right? Because they're seeing an apprentice that has less hours than them, soaring and skills wise, like they know so much.
Because you force
Yeah.
them to work on
Yeah.
the basics, and then we kick their ass and make them sweep the floor and get our coffee, wash our
Yeah.
cars. I don't know. We don't do
Do our
that.
laundry. No, we
Do
do
our
not do that.
laundry. Go do
Yeah.
my returns.
But so I do think when we do hire people out of school and they are frustrated because they don't feel like they've learned enough, we kind of coach them to the opposite, right? We want you to look
Yeah.
towards, you can see this person who has learned so much under our roof at
Here's how
Hello.
we got
So
them there. Do that.
yeah, you're gonna be able to succeed just as much if you do these fundamental basic things. If you allow us to help you grow, you'll be right here. It's just going to take some time. So, feel what you got to feel, get over your frustration and get ready to learn. And that might be, how do you hold those scissors? Pick your comb. Like you're going to come back to that. Like, I don't want to see you coming in with a different comb every week and think there's some fancy foil comb that's going to help you foil better. The comb's not going to help you foil better. Pick one. Now we're going to foil. And by foiling, you're going to foil better.
Yeah, it's rarely the tool. You do. It's funny because we talk to so many different varied people that a lot of people are like, yeah, but if you got better scissors, like yes, but if you don't know how to hold those better scissors, it's not going to do
Right.
anything for you. You still need the foundation, is what we're
Correct.
saying.
And it doesn't make you a better hair cutter just because you bought some fancy shears or five of them. Like you still have to work on the hair cutting. You do need a good pair of scissors if you're cutting hair. I
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
agree
yeah,
with
yeah.
that. And I do think that by having the better scissors, your like the cuts you make will be more precise.
In the
But
beginning,
that's
go ahead.
that's all. Like you still have to work on hair cutting. Like you're
Right.
not gonna just be this amazing hair cutter because you bought a pair of awesome scissors.
No, and I would definitely argue alongside that you do need a good pair of scissors, but not in the very beginning because you don't even know what you like. So
Right.
it's all irrelevant. So if you
Yeah.
invest, $1,000, $500, $200, whatever, in a pair of scissors, then you're gonna wanna like have them be comfortable. You're gonna want to have them do what you need them to do.
Mhm.
And unless you have an opinion, you're probably forming it from someone else's opinion. So just focus on trying different, stuff. Once you get the haircut down, like you were saying, don't switch your tools all over the place. Once you
Right.
get the hair cutting down where you're like, okay, like good, you can provide that service. It's good.
Right.
That's when you want to be like, okay, what do I have for preferences now? Because that stuff is what's going to take you maybe to the next step confidence wise. And then guess what? I would advise you to go back and work on the fundamentals with your
Right.
new shiny scissors.
Yes. And maybe people like, I don't know if people always think about their tools, but if you're getting frustrated when you're
Barbers
foiling
do.
or when you're
That's all
cutting hair,
barbers do.
yeah, or when you're blow drying hair, look at the tools that are in front of you. Maybe you've been doing hair a long time and it's time to replace some of your tools. Like that, it's easy to forget that. Look at your brushes. Has it been a year and you're blow drying all the time? It's time to get new brushes. Maybe there's some better brushes out there. Like don't just go and buy the same ones. Maybe it is time to get something that maybe is ergonomically better for you. Maybe you've been using a small comb or maybe you've been using a big comb. Try some different things to see if it elevates your game. Or like for me last year, I think it was last year. I have a pair of scissors that are like 5 in length. I had always used one pair of scissors for a while. Have been using one pair of scissors, and I was like, wow, with these shorter haircuts, I feel like I'm needing something smaller. So by now having a size 5 scissor, when I do some really kind of short or tight things in the back of the neck, I switch my scissor, I switch my comb, and I found my haircutting game elevated so much, but I just didn't think about it. So, there are times when you do switch, but then it's back to the basics of these basic bob haircuts with my new scissor. And I want to like kind of like, how is this working for me? Like, what does this look like? I also think we talked about this like when you take classes, if you don't apply it or you don't practice it, you've really not learned anything. So if you're going to invest your time in taking a class, you should be able to, or you should want to invest your time after to practice what you learned. Like even if you do a demo and a hands-on in a class, so you're seeing it and then you're doing it, you still need to keep practicing that hands on. So get a mannequin. We have mannequins rocking and rolling in our salon every day, all day, because it's important to always be practicing, especially for the newer person who a lot of it's not going to just be in their wheelhouse to just go in and do a foil. If you're not foiling often, then you need to grab a mannequin or a model and do those basic fundamental foiling techniques to make sure you're standing in the right place, you're holding your combs right, all of that stuff's working out for you. It's not just going to happen just because you're waiting for a client to show up. Those basic skill sets need to be practiced often, whether you're doing them all the time or you are just practicing on a mannequin. If you want to get better. I don't know. I would.
We've sort of touched on, yeah. So when I was in school, we had a list of maybe 8 things that were like super basics. It was like just holding your scissors and opening and closing your scissors. It was some sectioning on a mannequin. It
Mhm.
was like practicing share over comb, practicing the razor strokes, like super basic stuff. And they would always ask us, like, what on that list have you done today? Because it was expected
Right.
that you were going to work on something basic on your own that you weren't going to be told. And at some point, somebody was going to be like, what did you do on that list? And it didn't happen every day, but often it would be like, what did you work on? Because it's just super important. Those basics never go away if you keep them.
Right.
And so we've talked about, I don't want to say younger, but like newer people coming out of school.
Mhm.
What about you have somebody that's been doing hair for 30, 40 years, right?
Yes.
How important is it for them to maybe, I don't know if it's take like a foundational class or what would you recommend for them?
So I love this question, and I
Oh, you do?
probably
Nice.
I
We can
do.
talk about it.
I don't know if I would have answered it the same last year because I think I used to be like, well, if you've been doing hair long enough, you can watch something, you should just really be able to absorb it and you're good to go. But this year, where I've been teaching a lot of people that have been doing hair a long time, it's actually been really fun to have conversations and certain things that they're just scared to do that are very popular in today's world for coloring. I haven't taught a bunch of cutting yet. That's going to come up in the next couple months. But even just for coloring, things that they just shy away from because they don't know how to do it. So it's been really fun for those people to be taking my class. And I'm like, if you want to do hands-on after, you can. And usually they come in like, I'm just going to watch. And then we get to the hands-on portion. I'm like, do you want to try some of this stuff? Because you did say like, these are things you want to start adding into your services, or you're getting requests for it, but like you're too afraid to. I'm here. Let's practice. And
So
it's
hold on.
so fun. Oh,
Go,
go ahead.
finish your point if you want.
It's so fun, those that do participate and put themselves in this uncomfortable situation because they're afraid to look like they don't know something when some of the younger people near them are like really skilled at this stuff. But then I can get them to take that hat off and put themselves there. And by the end, they're like, oh my God, I can do this. And they're like, let me show you a picture. I have a client coming in. Now I can go do this on them. I wasn't sure how I was going to. And it's so like they're shocked because I'm making them feel comfortable, obviously. So you do have to find like a space where you feel comfortable to be uncomfortable in order to grow. But what's really fun is if I can get them to do that and step outside of it, the amount of growth they're having in like 30 minutes is insane to me. And that they're excited and inspired. Does that answer your question?
Sure.
Okay.
When I was interrupting you, I was just going to point out why, or ask you, why do you think that people are coming in and being like, I'm just going to watch today? And then what can we do about it? How can we give anybody that's listening permission to come in and be okay with being like, I'm just going to
Yeah.
walk in, and you don't, just because you've been doing hair for 30 years, 40 years, you don't know everything.
No.
I
The watching is the comfortable spot, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So how do we give somebody permission? How do we, so say, Henrietta hairdresser is listening right now, and Henrietta's been doing hair for going on damn near 5 decades now. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But she's always been stubborn, and she's always been like, I shouldn't have to do that. I've already put my time in, because I know that's a
Right.
very old school way of thinking. But you know what, Henrietta, we want you to take something out of the class. We don't want you to just sit there.
Yeah. And I think,
And we're not guessing. This stuff works because you get messages all the time that are like,
yeah.
thank you, I actually applied that. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
in this industry, that's what we have to start moving our measuring sticks towards, and our metrics. Because I see a lot of places, most places, that are like, we sold 40 tickets, or we sold 250 tickets, or whatever. And I don't give a fuck about your tickets. How many people took something? How many people
Yeah.
actually got educated and weren't just wooed by, whatever influencer? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not being a jerk. I'm just saying, like, you,
No, I think it's real.
yeah, like, because I've taken classes where I'm like, I got nothing. I can't learn. I mean, I can't execute anything different after taking that fucking class.
Right.
And that's frustrating.
I
And then I've
agree.
had some that I reach out to the person and I'm like, I actually learned something from you. I just want to let you know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what educators and companies and everybody should be. That's where our measuring stick should be. How many people actually got
Yes.
something from your class and were truly educated, not just sitting there staring at you, watching you do something that they can't relate to and they're never going to even attempt. That's
Right.
pointless to me. So we need Henrietta to stand up.
Henrietta, let's go.
Stop being
I
a
agree.
weirdo.
When I start all my classes, I'm like, I want you to hopefully either be inspired or take something out of it. And any point, if we're not, grab me, like ask me a question about something else. I had someone come in, like, I have a client coming in. Can I show you a picture? Can you help me consult? Sure. Like, just take something out of it that you can bring back. So I wasn't a time suck for you. Like, I definitely, as we've grown our business, as we've had kids, like when I take a class, it's really important that my time is used well, right? So that I'm taking something out of it, I've learned something, and I'm really extremely irritated if that does not happen because I'm giving up certain things to be at that class. So when I teach at every class, that's the mindset I go in with. Like if they're busy, if they have kids and they're giving me their time, then how can I give them so much like information that they can go back to their salon, and whether it's just feel inspired or apply is even wonderful, but take something out of it. I think you have the Henriettas that are scared that they're going to fumble around, and it's really like I said that a few minutes ago. It's very uncomfortable to be uncomfortable, but the only way you can get better is to be uncomfortable. So then I think it's finding an educator that you feel comfortable being uncomfortable with. One of the classes I had, and where I haven't set it up yet, but the woman was like, "Could I hire you to work one-on-one with me?" she's on her own. She needs a lot to learn. And she's like, I just think I could take more out of it if it was just me and you. Absolutely. So
Of
there's
course,
options.
one-on-one is always the best. Yeah, you're always going to get
Yeah.
more out of that.
So there's an option where if you feel uncomfortable in a group, find somebody that you can bring into your space and you learn one-on-one, or find someone that you're comfortable in a group setting or your group that you're comfortable learning with and bring someone in for that. And realize, like, a lot of times you're working on a mannequin, like they're not going to complain, and who cares if you screw it up? Like, Deborah, the mannequin, can't say anything. The point is, you should screw it up. That's how you learn the best. You can't always be perfect. You shouldn't always be perfect. If you are, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough. So I think it's just kind of going in with the mindset like you're there to learn. And if you're there to learn, then it doesn't matter how you learn it. Like, it's just putting yourself in the situation to learn. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you thought, wow, it must be expensive to work one-on-one with somebody. Yeah. Yeah, it could be for people, but it's not uncommon. And what it's really buying you is speed. So,
Yes.
like when I had my gym, I had people that were in group classes, and that's what fit. That's what fit their comfort level. That's what fit. And by comfort level, I'm talking about the Henriettas, the people that just want to sort of hide, right? They don't want to
Yep.
really be called out. So when you're in a school, right, a fish, when you, it's a lot easier to hide when there's more people, and it also fits budgets. But if you think about, like, so the people that were paying for personal training, and you're probably talking it's 10 times more expensive, but they're seeing progress in a few months that's taking other people like a year and a
Right.
half to reach.
Yeah. They're
And
paying for
that
success.
that's what they're paying for. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you wanted to work one-on-one with somebody, you're going to make faster progress because they can
Mhm.
focus on you and identify where you need the most help.
Right. My other
Or
classes, there's 20 or 30 people. I can only give them each so much time, right?
yeah, exactly. So, I just wanted to throw that quick point in there because
I think it's a good point to be made.
I think there should be more small group education in, I've said this for, like, I don't know, the past year or so, but
Yeah.
more working one-on-one with people, or real small intimate groups. Maybe there's 2 or 3 people that want to learn a technique, so they hire somebody to teach them that technique,
Right.
and maybe it's a, like, maybe each person's paying like $300 instead of like 50 or 100, but you're
Right.
getting that person one on
Yeah.
3 or one on 2,
Yeah.
whatever, right? And
Absolutely.
I think that makes sense too. For I'll get off my soapbox after this because it's really nothing to do with fundamentals, but I think too, then that person, that educator, is being properly compensated for their time as well.
I would agree.
You know,
I think it comes down
not
to,
always easy to get 150 people in a fucking room together. Not everyone can always make the same days. So why are we even trying that?
right.
Such an
And
old
you're not
school.
taking as much out of it when you have that many people.
No, I
I
just
think
feel
you,
like we're led to believe that it's better. The more people that are there, the better it must have been.
right.
And in reality, it's the
It's
opposite.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
for
know why
sure.
that's promoted in this industry so much.
And then I think it comes down to, and this would tie into fundamentals, is how important is your professional development to you? Do you consider yourself a professional in the hair industry? I don't know if everybody does, but if you consider yourself a professional, then you would invest in your professional development. And whether that means taking group classes or hiring someone to come in and do small classes, but it's really important. And as there's always trends coming out, and usually they're similar or they're reinvented, but if you could hire someone to come in and just work through those trends with you, you'd top notch. You're just taking your game to be an A game all the time, and it becomes a direct reflect of how busy you are, clients, how you raise your prices, and how you feel as a professional. I will say, for me in my career, this is the most I've ever put into my professional development the last few years, and it makes me feel really great about the work I put out, and my clients love it. And I do have clients that seek me out because they see all of the investments I'm making on myself by taking classes and teaching classes. And they're like, I want to sit in a chair of someone that's progressing all the time.
I want to go back to pricing.
Okay,
Shall we?
sure.
So you see all this stuff, right? Raise your prices, got to raise them up, and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work when you don't have a fundamental skill set. So everybody chill the fuck out and go work on how to hold a comb.
Yeah.
If you raise your prices too soon, you will struggle. I am
You will
not
fall flat
talking to
on your
hairdressers.
face.
I am talking to everybody,
Yeah, anything you do.
any industry. Raise your prices
0%
too
of nothing
soon.
is still zero. So just
Right.
because you raise your prices does not mean you're always going to make more money if you're not ready to do that and to
Yes.
elevate the client experience and all of these things that we always talk about.
Yes. We've had people in and out of our salon that we've helped with price increases 2, 3, 4 times. And we've had people in and out of our salon that were like, slow your roll. You're not there yet. And that is difficult for people to say because, as somebody that's trying to inspire people and trying to like
Mm-hmm.
mentor people and lead them in the right direction, to say you're not ready for something, I know that how that's going to feel to them.
Yeah.
But that's the best advice I can give them
Right.
because
If you want to be successful.
yes, because I've gone through letting people do a little too much on their own and then it
Yep.
stunts their growth.
It
And
backfires.
I think I'm a jerk because I should have seen that coming and I
Yeah.
missed it.
Yep.
And it kills me every time I think about mistakes that we've made. I'm like, but again, I will be far less likely to make those mistakes in the future.
Right. We learn from every single mistake we make because, in case you didn't know, we make mistakes too.
All the time, every day.
But that's like you see on like social media, like charge your worth. Like, what does that even mean?
What does worth
Like,
even mean? Yeah.
that's just shit. Stop doing that.
I'd like,
Because it does get people to think like they're supposed to do something and they're like, I should charge my worth. Like, okay, there's a lot of metrics that come out of how you should charge. And just the word worth means fucking shit.
it doesn't mean anything too. When people try to tie price increases to time, I'm always like that. How does that make any sense at all? Well, I've been doing hair for 5 years. Have
Cool.
you? Like if you've been sitting in a salon for 3 years waiting for a clientele to build that's
Yeah.
3 years minus. That doesn't count. Your I've said this before, your year and my year are two different things. If I'm focused on something and like really working towards it, I'm going to focus on the fundamental stuff. In my year, I'm going to work and it's going to be exponential.
Mm-hmm.
Your year, you're just sitting there waiting for something magical, I guess, to happen is way different than my year.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you've been doing hair even for 20 years and you haven't taken a class in the last 12 years or whatever, you're behind. You're behind a lot of
Right.
people that have busted their ass for 5 years,
Yeah.
So time is not even a relative sort of marker. Can it be?
Agreed.
Sure. Should we consider time? Yes. But I think it goes back into more of like your personal development, professional development, and the amount of effort, I guess, that you've
Mm-hmm.
actually put in.
Yeah.
And you can
I
tell the
agree.
people that put in true effort because they can do the fundamental things.
Right.
They've worked on the foundational things. So yeah, that's all I got there.
I like it.
Is that it? Are we done?
I think so. I
About a
just
half
have
an
to.
hour.
All right. My guy wants to buy.
Oh,
Bye,
jeez.
guys.
Okay. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Have a great day.